First of all, I'm sorry for a few minutes delay, but Aitchisonians find it difficult to get up early in the morning, it seems. But our guests have been here, and I'm particularly honoured that we have a senior member of our board, Sayyid Bauri Sahab, who in fact donated this building many years ago, and was named in honour of my predecessor, Shamim Saifullah Khan Sahab. But it's his generosity, both for the library, for this building, and a number of other benefactions that the college owes along to him. So we're honoured by his presence here this morning. I'm sorry the lift was not installed, but we're trying to get that done. We begin, as we do always, with a recitation from the Holy Quran, and we will have Amzad Naseem for the recitation, and he is from Prep School. Amzad, please. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Aitchison Debates. My reason for instituting them today was to re-establish a tradition which was in place many years ago when we had a state called Aitchisonia, and it was a kind of mock state where debates took place. You had the opposition, you had the government, and you had a parliament, and people could express their views on contemporary political issues. At one point, these debates became so popular and unfortunately so provocative that one of the landed gentry, he arranged at the tuck shop that there should be an unlimited account for persons who would vote for him. And so he won by a landslide. And having won and becoming the Prime Minister of Aitchisonia, this now powerful Aitchisonian then presented a list of demands to the then principal, and amongst them was that he should have his own cabinet, which was okay, but that he should be allowed a flag car on campus, and that he should be given separate premises for his secretariat. And that is when the principal realized he had allowed this thing to go too far. All of this is, by the way, documented in the book that I've written. We're honored here that we have Mr. Fahad Hussain. He was a winner. He was here between 1980 and 1986, and he won the Fahad Hussain Challenge Cup in 1986. He had a sports card in gymnastics in 1983 and again in 1986, and he joined Ohio Wesleyan University in 1987. He was appointed college prefect, captain of the college gymnastics team, as well as Kelly House for football, gymnastics, water polo, and swimming. He, as you know, is a versatile speaker and a commentator on television. We're honored and delighted, Fahad, that you could come and be with your alma mater today as such. Thank you. Please. This morning's session will be on politics and governance, and we have to telescope the two together, because I think there is, apart from the natural association between the two, there is the question of time as such. We're deeply honored that we have with us distinguished alumni, and one of the reasons for having them was that they should be able to transfer to you their experience. They were Aitchisonians like you once, and today they are in positions of responsibility, of authority, and they can speak on behalf of their respective professions, but also speak to you about your future and the kind of country that you will be growing up in, and inshallah you will be working and one day leading. Preeminent amongst them? None. All of them are equal in the sense that all of them are preeminent in their respective fields. But I'm going to, in alphabetical order, if you don't mind, begin with a name that doesn't need an introduction. You will recognize him from his face. But Chaudhry Aitchison, who was the Gottlieb Medal winner in 1961. He was a member of our college cricket team. He won the Malik Debating Cup in 1963, and he was with us between 1954 and 1963. So, Chaudhry Sahib, please welcome, and would you mind sitting up here? Thank you. Second, again alphabetically, Justice Umar Atabadiyar. When Chaudhry Sahib had left, a year later he joined the college. And it was obvious that we could not have two swords in the same scabbard. So, after Chaudhry Sahib's departure, Umar Bhai came. He joined in 1964 and he remained here for 11 years. He distinguished himself first in tennis, where he got the colours in 1975. In the same year, the Malik Debating Cup, and then the Rivas Gold Medal. Justice Umar Atabadiyar, please. The third luminary that we have, and he will represent, as Chaudhry Sahib will represent political governance, and Justice Atabadiyar will represent judicial governance. The third person, representing economic governance, is a former Aitchisonian who was with us from 1956 to 1967. He represented us in golf while he was still at Aitchison, and he represented our country in golf. But since then, he's moved on to much higher things, and today he's one of our leading industrialists and philanthropists. So may I invite Mia Tariq Sehgal Sahib, please. And the youngest, I think by far, is Mr. Fasiuddin Ahmed. He was with us between 1983 and 1996, and he, during his stay with us, he was the winner of the Malik Khan Debating Cup, which he won in 1995. Fasi, would you mind joining us? Thank you. Each one of these gentlemen will represent one facet of our national identity. We're dealing with the legislature, the law, politics, economics, the judiciary, and the media. And now I'll invite Fahad Bhai, if you'll be kind enough, to moderate this session. The format will be that each speaker will be invited to speak for, let's say, 5 minutes, to give their own impressions about what they would like at Aitchison, how Aitchison has benefited them, but more importantly, how you can benefit the country in the future in their respective fields. And then they'll be open to question and answer, and I leave it entirely in your safe hands, sir. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Aitchison College, for inviting us back. It is it's almost like a pilgrimage coming back to the institution, which has meant so much in all our lives. This is the 125th Founders Day My last year at Aitchison was the centenary, 1986. So it is indeed, I feel old. It's been 25 years since I left this place, but I still feel that whenever I come back here, it feels that I never left it. It feels very much like home. So thank you very much for inviting us today. I think this is going to be an interesting debate. I do this kind of work for a living, so I'm going to try and be as passionate about it as I do, as I am, or at least I try to be on television. But since Aitchison is here and he's a veteran of talk shows, so I think we'll have to keep it the tone a little bit lower, Aitchison, than normally it is in television. Keep it in good humor and try and learn from the experience of all the distinguished panelists today. I was just noticing one thing. I was looking at the CVs of all the guests here today, and one thing which I noticed that 4 of the guests have won the Malik Chiragh Debating Cup. So I think perhaps we can see some sort of a pattern here. People who are excelling in debates end up doing very well in professions where public speaking is a big asset. And I think I can't think of any profession where public speaking is not a good asset. And that's one of the strongest things at Aitchison College, the emphasis on public speaking. Let's start off. I think the format is quite clear. What we'll do is start with an opening statement and then we'll move on to the question and answer session and try and dig out some interesting experiences, interesting opinions and analyses from our distinguished guests. So if I could just start with Aitchison sir, you have 5 minutes to give an opening statement regarding your stay at Aitchison, what it meant to you, how it helped you, and then looking towards the future as far as Pakistan is concerned. Over to you.
Mr. Principal, distinguished panelists, faculty members, Aitchisonians. As Fahd said, it's really a privilege to be here, back in this campus, although it has changed enormously since I left, and that is almost half a century ago. This half century has brought enormous transformation in Aitchison College as well as in the world outside Aitchison. What I remember of Aitchison and whether that was sufficient to equip me with the world outside, to face the world outside. Quite frankly, Mr. Shah, one was expecting a different audience. I thought it was going to be a Koba, and I just have to speak to a much younger, perhaps a brighter, perhaps a more fresh lot than some faculty members. But, and I think I expect we were exchanging notes, all of us will have that difficulty of switching the thoughts we had in mind to state, especially to guests from across the border. But Aitchison, if I remember well, was a plural society. The most important aspect of Aitchison and the world outside is that it was a plural society. We had students in my time from all faiths. We had Hindus, Christians. We didn't have a Sikh student, but Sikhs had the presence of the Sikhs was available to us in young old boys of Aitchison whenever we interacted with old boys. So there was a bonding. It was a multi-faith sort of an Aitchison. And that is what Pakistan was also. Pakistan was also a multi-faith country. It was a country that had been created, according to my estimation, and I have written on this. I have authored a book which the principal very kindly helped me author, and I acknowledge him in that book. Pakistan was created, and this was the image of Aitchison at that time. Aitchison was Pakistan writ small, while Pakistan was our school writ large in this aspect. And this aspect was that Pakistan, in my estimation, was created by a barrister and his colleagues, which included a generation above us. One luminary, Sayyid Babar Ali, sits here and would probably be able to testify, was created as a Muslim state, not as an Islamic state, but as a Muslim state. Now, you might ask what is the difference between a Muslim state and an Islamic state. If it's a Muslim state, it's got to be an Islamic state. A Muslim state in the sense that you can characterize France as a Christian state, Britain as a Christian state, although it has become very plural now, Denmark as a Christian state, Morocco as a Muslim state, Jordan as a Muslim state. So Muslim in the sense that the majority of the population were Muslims. That is what Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Qaid-e-Azam, had in mind. But not as an Islamic state. An Islamic state is a state in which the Islamic Sharia is the supreme law of the land. In our case, the Constitution of 1973 is the supreme law of the land. To the extent that it adopts the Sharia and the principles of the Sharia, they are part of the supreme law. To the extent that it sets up a different system, like a parliamentary system with a parliament, with franchise, with elections, it is not, or it is not derived directly from Islamic precepts, although they may be similar and they may support a similar system and structure. But Saudi Arabia is professedly an Islamic state. Iran is professedly an Islamic state. Somalia is professedly an Islamic state. Afghanistan under the Taliban was professedly an Islamic state. There, they had no problem in being Islamic in the sense that Iran has one dominant sect, Saudi Arabia has one dominant sect, Somalia and Afghanistan under the Taliban are bad examples of Islamic states anyway. But Pakistan is a plural, in terms of sects too, is a plural country. It has Shias, it has Sunnis, it has Deobandis, it has Brelvis, and these for the young students who are sitting here and looking vacantly at me as what is meant by Brelvi and Deobandi, ultimately these are realities that will hit you in the face when you find that there can be no argument or discourse between a Deobandi and a Brelvi at a certain level, and that they are fighting for mosques and possession of mosques, and Shias and Sunnis are throwing and lobbing bombs and grenades at each other's Imam Bargahs and mosques. So remember one thing, and I will conclude with that thought. Jinnah Saab's speech of 11th of August 1947 said all that I have said. He said it more succinctly, more precisely, but this is what he said. He said, now that you created the country, now that a Muslim state has been born, there will be no distinction left between the citizens. The state will not be partial towards Muslims or to Hindus or towards Sikhs or towards Christians. And he said that if you make the state partial among citizens, then there are, and these are his words, Deobandis, Brahmins, Shias, Sunnis, and a whole lot of others, which belief or creed will the state espouse? So the state will have no religion. The state will be like a mother. And that is the dream that we tried to recreate in a recent movement. You might have watched the lawyers' movement, of which I was one of the activists, in which our theme was, and that is the theme that I drew from the teachings of my tutors and my teachers from my days at Aitchison, that there would be no superiority of any person on grounds of religion. And the song we sang during the lawyers' movement was derived from my days at Aitchison, I can assure you, कि मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने लोगों देखा था जो सपना सबका, सारी दुनिया पर अब होगा साया एक और एक ही रब का, वो रब सच्चा, वो रब साझा, हर मजहब हर धर्म का रब है, हिंदू मुस्लिम सिख ईसाई हर इंसान पे करम का रब है. That is what I learned from Aitchison. That is the lesson that you must learn and embrace, and that is the lesson that you must go out and try to be contenders for in a world which is tearing itself apart on conflict of religion and sex. Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Justice Umar to give an opening statement of 5 minutes, and then we will move on to question and answers. Justice.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. Principal, Mr. Sayyid Babar Ali, members of the faculty, students, I'm honored to be here today with you. One thing I must state at the outset is that as a judge, I'm trained to speak very little. The more we speak, we are likely to get into trouble. We should speak through our judgments. But I'm honored today because I'm amongst people of the same family, and maybe I can say share some thoughts. Another revelation that I can make to you is that I'm a student of Mr. Aitchison. I was his junior for some years and learned immensely from his liberality and his commitment to principle. These are things I found to be reflective of my learning at Aitchison College. I recall the immense emphasis on character.